Welcome back for another installment of Fellowship of the Rink. Joe, how long has it been since we've actually sat down and just recorded a normal episode together?
It's probably been at least a month, I'm guessing, between vacations or stuff going on in life, or we've done interviews together.
Right.
But it's not been the usual intro. And part of that too is there's not a lot of new stuff to talk about, right? Since the free agency and all that, and dev camp. I know we'll probably talk a little bit about World Juniors because we were both there at the showcase. But yeah, it's kind of that doldrums of late July, August, when a lot of the GMs go to their cottages or cabins, whichever way you want to describe it, Minnesota lingo versus Michigan lingo. Which I think it'll end up changing here end of August or early September when they'll have some more news, I think, at this point with Minnesota Wild. But right now it's pretty quiet, which is a good thing since Russo's on vacation somewhere and I'm about to in a week. So we're hoping the timing doesn't work out where we're both aligned, where we're both gone, so
I need to know when you're both gone because I'll have that circled on my calendar for when big news is dropping.
Okay. So
that's just how it works.
I think mid-August or mid to late August, and then that'll give you a good for the pool.
Perfect. And to that note though, when's the last time you had a summer that was, from a hockey sense, this boring? Just no news.
Oh, yeah. The last couple, even last summer, even though I wasn't fully part of it because our son was born, and I went on kind of leave after that. They had the Trenyon signing, right? But there wasn't really much else going on, with everything. So in Tampa, there was sometimes were quiet off seasons because they played late until late June, and they didn't have much cap space. So they might have one free agent signing, but yeah, it's been one of those things where you forget that they haven't played a game in June, July, 3 months, right? So I think people are itching to watch some hockey, which is why you see a lot of people at the World Junior Showcase, and you saw them at Beauty League.
Yeah, for sure. And I haven't been out to Beauty League yet. Still pretty good showing.
Yeah. I mean, depending on what time the game is, there's 5:15 and 6:30, whatever. And they're all for some reason they're always an overtime, because their overtime is the 3-person shootout type thing. So the one I went to 2 weeks ago was 3 8-7 games, right? So no matter who's playing, A-listers, C-listers, whoever. And the women's game is usually the later game, and they're really good. So it's kind of fun to see a lot of the top players, Hyazis and some Winkles and them playing. And they actually have probably the best goaltending of any game. They have Mooney, Rooney, Rooney in the net. So it's kind of versus anyway they could pick up from St. Thomas.
Yeah, that's how that goes. Before we dive in, we've got a mailbag segment coming up, and actually might be plugging in, if I can get it edited fast enough, one of the prospect interviews from the World Junior Summer Showcase. There's been a little bit more movement for you and Russo here of late. A couple collaborative pieces. I know you guys are throwing a bunch of different polls out, kind of looking for feedback from people. What's been released lately that people should check out? And then what is there out there? I think you guys still have one more poll questionnaire type piece that you guys are going to work through too, right?
Yeah, the most recent one that is posted, I think, today. This is the 25th anniversary season for the Minnesota Wild, and so you have some fun projects planned through the course of the year. Obviously, nostalgia, big part of that. And I think what we have now is we're picking an all-time lineup for the Minnesota Wild for the 25 years, and we have a chance for fans, subscribers, unsubscribers, to vote and pick their top 5 left wing centers, right wings, D-men. So the goal is to have 4 lines, 3 D pairs, 2 goalies, right? And so we'll take the fan input. I think Russo and I will go over our list, and we're having some kind of a special panel of key figures in Wild history to do it. I had a lot of fun doing this in Tampa when I'd have Dave Anderchuk and Esposito and Marty St. Louis all gave me their picks for their top all-time Lightning lineup.
Nice.
And Marty St. Louis actually sent me a picture of an actual coaching card where it had the names on the sheet that he would turn in. It has Vinny and Cooch and Stammer like all like together. So it's pretty cool. This is before he became coach of the Canadians, but so it's fun to pick people's brains and get a feel, not just like who the best players are, but who would be a great line. Like who do you want to play? Like, do you want to play like Gaborik and Kirill together? Do you want who do you want the center on these guys? And like that.
Are there going to be special teams stuff or shootout or anything like that?
No, I mean, I think we're like, it's just so many. You pick a whole roster as a lot of people, so I think we're just trying to keep it to the 4 lines, 3 D pairs, and 2 goalies. So, but that was the last one, and we had the fan survey every year, kind of taking the temperature of people on the confidence in Guerin, like how do you feel about the Kirill extension, the Rossi situation, the prospects in the system overall, and that one popped in and posted last week. So that was interesting to see some of the 5,000 responses. So it was a pretty good sample size of what people were thinking.
What was the biggest surprise in that one?
I think part of the biggest surprise was that there, kind of the confidence in Guerin. I think people are taking a measured approach. They're still not like 5s out of 1 to 5. It's like it's more like 3 to 4s grading on a 1 to 5 scale. So there's a little more, maybe some disappointment, but I think people weren't quite nearly as disappointed about this July 1 as we imagined they would be. Just because
I am shocked. That's very positive.
I think people understood the factors around it, like not many free agents were available. And I think there was people commented like they showed restraint. They didn't go out and make mistakes, so
very mature of the Wild fans. Kudos to all of you. That's great.
I don't know who all like voted 18 times on that one or not, but yeah, I think there are some angst though, because they feel like Guerin and management are moving the goalposts again. Like, I
mean, I think this coming summer that moves to like 4.5 or like 1.5, depending on how the season goes. Like, I think this summer was the last summer where it's like, okay, we're willing to give you one more shot.
Yeah. And like, again, like there's been a lot of, like we mentioned, one of the bigger, votes was like, was it more hits or misses versus misses or hits for Guerin? And there have been a lot of hits. Look at the Brock Faber trade with Fiala and getting him and Liam Ogren, the Boldy extension for 7x7, which is going to be a pretty big bargain. Like the Yak contract, like, Philip Gustafson trade, the Cam Talbot one, like that was a really good move. And there have been ones that haven't been, done extremely well, like the trade deadlines the last couple of years, right? Like Nyquist didn't give much, and it was part of the pivotal play in the series against Vegas, and Klingberg the year before that didn't quite have the game that people thought he would have, and ended up costing the Wild. So there have been some hits and misses, and now there's just a point where there has to be some more hits with the flexibility that they have and the players that they have in the primes and the core players, since and I think a lot of the approval will come with like, hey, did they get Kirill signed for 8 years? Or hey, like, did they handle the Rossi situation well? Like, if they sign Kirill Kaprizov, get the Rossi situation handled, and 3 of the 5 rookies this year make an impact like they possibly can, like the Vikings have a pretty good team. There's a lot of ifs to go around the board, but you look at the roster, and if guys like Urov and Ogren, see Buyum, if Juracek goes from what people might consider a question mark, since they haven't seen a lot of him since the big trade, all of a sudden you feel a lot better about now and the future with a mixture of the guys they have and the guys that they have coming.
I got a trivia question for you, and I think you've figured out by now after talking to me enough. I definitely have like weird hankerings for like players that I mark as my guys. And my trivia question that ties directly to one that you guys should work into that piece, even though it won't be part of the vote. Do you know who holds the record NHL history minimum 10 shootout attempts for the best shootout percentage?
Minimum of 10.
Minimum of 10 attempts.
And is this a former Wild player?
It is a former Wild player.
Okay.
But that doesn't make it any easier.
No. God, wish I could phone a friend on this one. Like how many years back is this current?
It would have been late 2000s.
Late 2000s. Okay.
Only played for the Wild and the Blue Jackets, and only played 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
Before going overseas. So that's why it's a tough one.
Yeah, usually I would just stare at the wall behind you for your guys, like Hitlick's and the Rossi.
I don't have a jersey, actually. I don't.
Yeah,
sadly. So the answer is defenseman Petteri Nummelin.
Okay.
8 out of 10.
Wow, that's pretty incredible.
He was ridiculous on the shootout. He was, we'll say maybe not the strongest defensively, but offensively, the guy certainly brought it. Even played forward a couple of times. But yes, Petteri Nummelin, love him. If you watch any of his shootout attempts, it's like he makes it look so effortless. It's so cool. But it's understandable why he maybe had a limited tenure in the NHL with covering his own end. But it's beside the point. Joe, let's jump into it then. Let's talk mailbag. We got plenty of good requests coming through off of your post on Twitter, X, the everything platform. Let's kick it off right away with the only non-wild topic, I believe. We got NCAA topics.
Mm-hmm.
First one being thoughts on the Cullen boys, which, I mean, I can only say good things. I don't know if you have an opinion on this one.
Well, I think it was a surprise for a lot of people, right? You know, not only just one, but both of them, I think, potentially, right? I don't know if they're both official yet. As far as this recording, but everybody knows the Cullen name in Minnesota and in Gopher land and everything else like that. So that's a pretty, sneaky late ad in the summer for Bob Batskow and the group. They do have some spots to fill and some places where people can grow into roles. So I think that's, anytime that name is mentioned, there's going to be some little excitement with it. So I don't know what you think, but that's there's certainly some buzzworthy things that'll be happening going into camp.
I absolutely love Matt Cullen. Of course, with my Pittsburgh fandom, he was like such an underappreciated linchpin in their back-to-back cups. Obviously, means so much to Minnesota. I don't know if I'm more excited that like these very good players, offspring of Matt Cullen, are coming to Minnesota, or if it's that St. Cloud's not getting them. And a lot of their fans are going to be so mad because they thought these were legacy players. So I'm happy across the board. It's crazy, though, that, they announced that Wyatt is committing to the Gophers. And then Schlossman, who, if Schlossman says something, I take it as gospel. That guy is so plugged in with college hockey. Immediately follows it up with, and Brooks is decommitting from Michigan State. Will be a Gopher. And I guess we have to just assume that the last one, Joey, will probably follow suit too. So we got another legacy group, a la Middlestat.
Oh, that'd be a fun storyline rate for us, and as far as to talk about, and maybe have them both on the podcast like we have with the Middlestats together. I think a lot of intrigue about the team this year. Considering the last couple of years how it ended, and I think the 10 departures from last season. Some more surprising than others. So where there's losses, there's opportunity. And so I'm really curious to how this group not only plays, but meshes together, and who steps up as the leaders and guys that maybe have been there. All the guys that you've, remember from the years past, like the Fabers, the Combs, and, all the top guys that were the Rodzinskis and everything else are gone. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
For sure. And do you think that NIL needs an overhaul?
I mean, it's certainly gonna go to the haves and have-nots when you look at the numbers that are out there. Like, I think $700,000 for, obviously when you have the top pick like that, like he's going to get a lot of money, but you also have to, name, image, and likeness. How do you justify the number, or like how does it make up for, supposed to be a legitimate reason, not just that this player is being bought, but like that, the value added to it. And so I think there's some teams that in the conference have like a $200,000 budget overall, right? And then some are spending $200,000 on one player, so it's going to create some interesting dynamics of coaches like Motzkow is kind of an old school guy. Like he talked on our podcast about that, where, they're kind of dipping into it a bit, but they're not using it to build their team. They're using it to kind of augment it. And that's how David Carl mentioned in Denver. When I've talked to him about it, he's been reluctant to getting into a high end number of NILs because of the precedent sense and how can you build a program long term based on that, considering how the costs are going to rise, year after year. So I think I don't know if it needs an overhaul. I wonder how the regulation is going to be or how tight it will be to see if can they keep these caps on it. Like if Terry Pegula has billions of dollars and can funnel it to Penn State, like Penn State's going to become like a minor league program, right? A minor league, pro program.
Oh, good. Buffalo gets another minor league affiliate.
Yes.
They're going to let prospects rot in. Fun.
Well, but like I just think that like I think it's great for players to be able to benefit and from their name, image, and likeness, and it is cool to see that opportunity for guys to get that. I just wonder if what will it create, the haves and have-nots, and will it take away from what the beauty of college hockey has been since I grew up watching it? Those legacy players playing for 4 years, 3-4 years, or building a team versus how the NCAA basketball turned into a lot of times with Calipari and such as the one and dones, and they do a lot for the program. Like McKenna will do a tremendous amount just in that 1 year, and then the draft recognition of having Penn State all over the ESPN for days and stuff like that's going to do a lot for the program. So there's a lot of benefits to it beyond just the 1 year, but still it's quite a change. And the same thing with like the CHL rules, like how's that changing junior hockey, right? So it's definitely going to shift the dynamic and landscape of people love college hockey before, but now it's going to be the talent pool is going to be so incredible.
Yeah, I think we're in a bubble, to put it simply. Like we just had the portal changes come down a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. Now we have NIL, and then the following year CHL eligibility. I just think that teams are doing right by themselves to go out and grab these big names, like especially McKenna for Penn State. That's just a branding thing that's going to put Penn State on the map, capitalizing on them going to the Frozen Four this past year. They needed to do that, and I respect it. I don't think that this is going to be the norm a couple of years from now. I think that it's going to have to calm down because Charles Barkley said this on a different podcast talking about college basketball. People call him every year and they're like, hey, you want to give us more money so that we can bring in good players? He's like, I don't have endless money. Like, I'm not going to give it out every year. Like, I gave it to you the first year, go away. And I think unless you have a Terry Pegula who is truly willing to just be a bottomless pit of throwing money at Penn State, I think this is going to level out and it's going to be lower dollars. I think we got to wait and see how these players coming into college hockey even meshes. Like some of these players might totally flail out, not because they're not good players, but because it's a completely different schedule, different game, style of play. And these kids can leave until I think sometime in January. They have like full permission to just dip out back to their CHL squads. I think this year is going to be a big feeling it out year. I'd maybe even say 1 or 2 past it. After that, I think things will settle down and be figured out. And that's, I think, a big part of why Bob Motzko hasn't dipped in to this point with recruiting CHL guys, waiting to see just how some of this shakes out. Right. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, absolutely.
It's just kind of a wait and see thing for me at this point.
No, that's fair. I mean, give it a year or so, and then maybe if it change, maybe it's a game changer. Maybe it's something that, it goes up and down and it goes back into how it's been done before. But any way you could add players getting value for themselves, I'm all for.
Yep. Moving on, Minnesota Wild talk. We've got first Kirill Kaprizov. Let's start with, when is Kirill coming back to Minnesota?
Don't know the exact date for sure. We believe it will be in this month of August. I think it would be earlier than usually guys show up, whether it's end of August or early September for captain's practices, and training camp doesn't start till September 18th. But I do think that it'll come to a point where you'll see, Kirill Kaprizov in town, and then him meeting face to face with Bill Guerin, potentially Paul Theophanis is the agent too for Kirill Kaprizov. So we know it worked well last time. The last contract talk with Kirill. It was done, a lot of it face-to-face eventually, that when it finally get to nitty-gritty. And we've heard and talked, last time we talked to him was after the end of the season, and it was very positive vibes about wanting to be here and loving it in Minnesota and believing in the group. So I have no reason to speak for him otherwise. So I think the first question there is, we do believe it'll be sometime this month. I don't know when. I'm sure we'll see it on social media. But he's been training in Russia, and you can tell by the videos and Instagram posts. Looks like he's a very motivated and looks like healthy and driven player. You see some pictures and stuff like that of him and Malkin, and I know in previous year he worked out with Kovalchuk and stuff. Obviously, he was an MVP caliber player until the injuries last year. So if he comes back the way he did, then it'll be a tremendous potential here this year for him. So I think no need for people to panic until those meetings actually happen this month potentially, and then we get towards training camp. And if there's something done by training camp, it's not the end of the world, but it still would probably raise a lot of eyebrows. Whether they want this to be a storyline going into the season.
Yep. And in a world where Kaprizov must be traded, what are 3 teams that would make sense? And I'll spare you some of the agony here, Joe. There's so many factors that go into this, between like what's a team that can actually offer a reasonable package back? Do they have the cap space? Does he want to go there? There's a lot of things at play, but are there any teams top of mind that could at least make sense initially as a potential trade destination if we have complete D-Day panic scenario and Kaprizov does not want to stay?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one because you got to find a place. Hey, he wants to go because he holds all the cards and where he would go. And number 2, a team that could fit, $15 million a cap space in there. I feel like Vegas always can fit $15 million of cap space.
Vegas is the only one that I had because they can always. Everyone says every year, this big guy, like Vegas will try, but like, how do they make it work? They make it work every time.
Yeah. Like, I mean, again, it's hard for me to speculate. I think every team in the league would kick the tires on Kirill Kaprizov. Like, you look at, Chicago's a team that's brought up a lot. I don't know where they are necessarily, if they're ready in their cycle to recruit that kind of player. I mean, I think if Kirill wants to win, I don't think going to Chicago is going to be a step up from staying in Minnesota. So, I think if there's any scenario that he goes anywhere, it's to a team that is a contender and ready to win, since he will be 29 years old when this contract begins. And in theory, if he signs an 8-year deal, that's the last set contract of his career, most likely. So I think we'll wait a little while longer before getting to the Armageddon scenarios of trade partners and that stuff. But I do think if Kirill does come to the Wild and say, hey, I'm not sure if I'm ready to commit, or I don't know if I want to, if it doesn't work out number wise, and it would behoove Garen, like any general manager,
gotta explore it.
You don't want a situation like Mitch Marner where, he leaves for nothing, and say what you want about Mitch Marner and whether he, could perform when it matters the most or not. I mean, his points are there somewhat in the playoffs, but like, he's still one of the all-time Leafs, right? Just like Kirill, if his career ended today, would be
still probably number 1.
What I mean? The all-time Wild team, like, where does he fit? Again, we'll learn more probably this month about that.
Let's spin that then, because like Chicago's one that you mentioned, and I'm sure that's a little bit planted based on, what Lazarus said a year ago. But do you think Garen/Leopold are willing to trade him in division if it comes to it?
I mean, I would want to see him that many times a year.
So a lot of tickets to those games.
Was that? Yeah. No, I think you gotta get the best deal, right? I think.
Yeah. Totally.
This would be a franchise-changing trade, whatever you do it. So I think if you're gonna do that, it'll have to be a way to set yourself up the best going forward, regardless of who the other team rather have not in division. But again, this is a lot of looking ahead of the wheel here as far as what might or will happen. I still do think that something gets done with the Wild and Kirill Kaprizov. I do believe he will, they will find a way to sign him, whether that's for longer term or shorter term, we don't know. what he wants. But I do think that, the Wild certainly have been confident this year to do that. They'll be able to get it done. And so until something happens and goes sideways, that's where I think we all kind of believe it's going to happen.
Very fair. Moving on to Marco Rossi. How would a Rossi holdout and a slow start to the season impact the temperature of Guerin's seat?
Like, I really don't think it's going to go into the season with him. I mean, I think that I think Rossi wants to play. Like, he's a competitor, and like, this is not an ideal situation for both parties, but I think there'll be a compromise point here if there's not a big, a taker and trade. So I don't think, and even if there was a quote unquote holdout or into the season, I think that has less to do with the Guerin hot seat than, let's say, if Kaprizov isn't signed, for example. Yeah. I don't think Leopold is going to be, quite frankly, like, losing his mind if Rossi isn't signed on October 7th or whatever the season opener is. Like, I still think something will get finalized and sorted out before then. But yeah, I don't think that's going to have a huge effect on this hot seat. Like, if something happens and there's a trade and it doesn't work out and it looks bad, like a year from now or something like that, then I think that might add to the pressure, especially if this season doesn't go the way the Wild hope. But I don't think I just don't think there'll be necessarily a holdout in the beginning of the year. It would have to continue to. This would be months and months of a stalemate here for that to happen.
Yeah. And do you think Rossi's in the situation he's been in since being demoted to the fourth line and not signed because he's the only trade chip we have? Guerin's given everyone else no move clauses, and the cheaper he gets Rossi signed for, the more return he gets back.
I think he's in the situation because there's a fundamental difference on the value of this player.
Value and fit, right?
I don't think Bill Guerin's lying when he says he likes Marco Rossi to a certain extent. I think he likes him at a certain number. I don't know if he likes him or loves him at a different number, which you could say that could be the case for a lot of players. But there is something to be said about, like, do the Wild believe that they can, win in the playoffs with him playing in a top six role, right? And if he's not a guy that you believe with the team that you have going forward is that guy you can count on in that role, like, you probably shouldn't or don't want to pay him 7 years, $7 million or whatever, $8 million, so where they're at because there's a fundamental difference. And obviously it seemed like it's not say significant, but it's sizable enough to where we're sitting where we are right now. Difference between what Rossi believes he is worth and should receive and what the Wild are comfortable in giving. And right now it's kind of a stalemate where I don't know if they're playing chicken or not, but more they're both sides are waiting for the other one to make a move. And, I think the Wild do need Rossi. I think, Rossi needs a place to play. And for right now with his contract situation, he doesn't have arbitration rights. He's not stuck. I mean, he could do the holdout thing, but I think it's in best interest for him to play to a certain extent as well, because, whether you stay here for 5 more years or whether you sign to a 2-year deal and all of a sudden are very tradable and you can play like the way you're capable of, which I think he's capable of, I think he'll find himself in a situation where he wants to be. So I think it'd be obviously, I think, better for the Wild too to have him because they need that guy up the middle. They're a better team with him on the team versus not. So, we'll figure out when it happens, like how it actually works out.
No, for sure. Neither side wants us to drag out, but again, we got to find a middle ground. Next one up, would the Wild think of structuring a possible Zuccarello extension similar to a Gord/Marchand? By which I mean paying for his final few years over the course of multiple to spread cap. Say, just spitballing numbers, 8 over 5, so 1.6 AAV versus 6 over 2, being 3 AAV. I'm going to start here, Joe, because I don't even know if this is permitted under the new CBA. I don't know if this is part of what they trimmed out, and that's why they kind of jammed in the Marchand and Gord contracts quickly. But maybe you know more than I do on that one.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, we got to see if Matt's wants to play beyond this year. I think he said in May at the end of the season that he'll approach it like potentially it's his last year. He doesn't know for sure, but kind of see how he feels, see how the season goes, and then it very well could be his last year like Fleury, or he could play really well and feel good about himself. And he's one of those ageless kind of players that can do a lot without having the blazing speed and stuff. So I don't think either he or the Wild are necessarily in a position right now to start talking about a long-term, short-term deal in that respect. If it gets down to the end of the year, they signed Kirill to 8 years, and
I was going to say, why this is being asked, right?
Well, I know that the joke is that Zuccarello could be his agent and he can he could play as long as Kirill. I think realistically we all know that I don't think Zuccarello's going to play as long as Kirill Kaprizov will play in the league. But
it'd be impressive.
I've enjoyed covering him. I've enjoyed watching him play. I've enjoyed kind of the professionalism he shows in losses and kind of standing up the room and speaking for the group. So never a bad thing to have a guy like that around. But yeah, I think the season will be kind of wait and see how he feels and how it goes. And if he has more hockey in him, I wouldn't be surprised if the Wild are interested in keeping him. I just don't know if it'll be necessarily for the Gord type Marchand. They're both in different scenarios, I think. The Marchand especially and Zuccarello.
Totally. Next one up, Jiricek status. Fully healed. Has he made improvements to strongly compete? We need his size. Final comment there from TJ.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of attention and interest, understandably so, in Jiricek because of how much the Wild gave up to Columbus for him. Kind of felt bad for him in a sense that like he didn't really get much of a chance to show last season what he can do. And, anytime you have limited time, it's hard to all of a sudden come out like gangbusters and be the guy that people are thinking he's capable of. But this is a big summer. Like he told me end of the season last year, or like in the spring, he knows his contract year for him, like entry level deals coming up. He knows like he sees who's up in front of him in the blue line. I think a lot will be working on his skating and all that'll be a really big focus this summer. And the idea was for him to come into Minnesota or Twin Cities and work with the staff here, the Andy Nesses and those guys of the group. As far as his status, Bill Guerin said, I think it was right around the draft that, they're believing he was going to be 100% this summer and then doing a lot of work in Minnesota for that. So I don't know if he's actually here right now or will be here soon, but that's part of the plan is him working with the pro staff in Minnesota and with the players here and putting the best foot forward in training camp. Cause I think they're going to give him every chance in the world to be on this roster and whether it's play or not, it'll be interesting to see what happens with him and versus like a Bogosian, right? I think William is, we're assuming and believing that he'll be a regular in the lineup right now as well. And Brodin won't be ready to start the season from what we've gathered initially. So there'll be a spot for those guys. And who knows, maybe Carson Lambos can sneak on the roster temporarily begin the season. Him and Spacek will be given a chance, I think, as that or a call up during the year. So, but Jiricek, I'm looking forward to seeing. Like, he seems like he's a smart kid and a really driven kid, and he understands it's hard to be traded this early in your career, a top 10 pick, and how does he fit in the NHL? What role does he play? I still think it's early to give up on him quite yet, but he'll be one of the guys that we are all watching an awful lot during training camp and preseason.
Yeah, I'm buying Jiricek stock personally, but it's going to be a big year. Wait and see. Got two left here. First one, I guess, well, there's two in this, but I'll tackle the first one because there's not much there. This is on acquisitions. And I'll tackle the first one because it's one that I actually was banging the drum for like a month and a half ago when I thought the Islanders were going to be sellers. And it sounds like the Islanders still think they're going to compete. So Bo Horvat to the Wild. Thoughts? I was completely with you. This is a Bill Guerin kind of guy. I thought the Islanders might be going in a different direction and trying to do a little bit more of a rebuild. every indication is that they are not doing that. So Bo Horvat's not going to be available. So it's unfortunately not really much of a topic unless you disagree.
No, I mean, I think there were teams, including the Wild, that had checked in on guys like that with the Islanders, and were told that guys like him weren't available, right? I don't see Darsh, the new GM there, who I knew well from his time in Tampa Bay. I don't think they're planning on making the playoffs or trying to make the playoffs versus trading one of their top two centers. I know the Wild were interested in Peugeot as well. He wasn't moved. So I think a lot of teams would like a Bo Horvat on their group. We didn't get the sense that they were going to move him. So that's another topic for another day, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Nope, that's fair. And then the other one, like him or despise him. Any word on a player like Kuznetsov? I assume it depends on the Rossi situation, but a larger, highly skilled, proven Stanley Cup winning center who is Russian at the right price couldn't hurt. Could it? Is it someone 97 would like?
They're trying to build a Russian 5 here, in a sense. No, I mean, I don't think he's necessarily on the radar right now for that. I mean, like obviously you've seen what he's done in his career and see where it's kind of gone since then. I know he was a big ticket acquisition later in his career. The Hurricanes took a chance on him as well. But yeah, I don't see him on the front burner for the Minnesota Wild. Like, I'm not saying never on anything, but I don't think that's something that's going to be necessarily in the works as of right now.
All right, last question. What do you want for PP1 and PP2? And same for PK.
Wow. I think the fascinating part will be PP1. Like, I think, reason why you believe Bouillon's going to be part of your team and part of your roster is because how good he's on the power play. And so I would think they were going to start the year at least giving that a shot of Bouillon. And you have the stalwarts already. You have Boldy, Kaprizov, Zuccarello, and Eriksson Ek. Now, you might be able to flip the net front there with Eriksson Ek. I'm not sure if he would go some other place, but I know Tarasenko was brought in. You have to think about where he would fit on that group. If you got 5 forward, you can think about that. But I think if you're going to have Z Bouillon on your team, and he obviously everyone believes will be a really good defensive defenseman as well. But part of the reason why I got to look in the playoffs was because of how he can make a difference in the power play. And I think with a full training camp, preseason, he'll be ready to go. He's been working his butt off the summertime, putting on some weight and getting stronger. So I think PP1 would be that. And then PP2 would be what if you have, Tarasenko, who would be the power play. You get a Faber right in the point on that, or Faber or Spurgeon. Rossi, assuming he's there. Rossi, Tarasenko. Trying to think of
Foligno net front.
With Foligno net front, you have Johansson. Depending on what you're off. I think you're off has to get a chance on PP2. If you're bringing
for sure.
So the net front presence could be Foligno, could be Ryan Hartman. Ryan Hartman's a power play guy too. So you have to have Tarasenko, Rossi.
Second year is going to be a revolving door until they find
Tarasenko, Rossi, Hartman, your blue liner, which could be Faber, and then so. And the PK will have a different look with Nico Sturm around. Foligno will be a huge part of it. He lost Freddie Gaudreau, who was a big part of their penalty code the last couple of years. But I think this gives a chance for new guys, new blood, and it's important for a unit that struggled the last three or so years. So
I'm really curious to see if they're going to install any of the big dogs. Like, does a Boldy or Kirill get any?
Boldy should
time.
Boldy should, and maybe you think about Kirill, you think how well it did went with Boldy last year on the PK, his stick, the way he reads, he made such a difference on the penalty kill, and he enjoyed it. So I think, with the injuries that happened in Kirill last year, I know people are probably wary about that, but I do think Boldy will get, more time than he did last year on the PK.
Perfect. Well, that's a wrap. Thank you all again for your submissions this week. This is something we're going to try and continue to do every month or two. So please continue to bring good questions across Wild, NHL, college hockey, or random stuff as it comes up. Now, Here's a quick interview at the World Junior Summer Showcase with Wild draft pick Aron Kiviharju. This interview is brought to you by our friends at Waggle Golf. Waggle Golf believes what you wear on the course should reflect your individuality, who you are, where you're from, your hobbies, interests, and passions. All the stuff that makes you, well, you. That's why every design is inspired by the desire to create a piece of apparel that strikes a chord when you see it, that makes you say, wow, that was made for me. Because in a lot of ways, it was. Ready to get your waggle on? Go to getyourwaggleon.com, throw in promo code SP10 at checkout to take 10% off your entire order. All right, here at the World Junior Summer Showcase, we have Minnesota Wild draft pick Aron Kiviharju. Aron, appreciate you taking the time. Tell me, how's everything been here the last week, I guess, now with everything going on here?
Everything's been good so far. The facilities are great here on and off the ice, and obviously the games have went pretty good. We won 4 out of 5, so I think that's a good record for us. Us definitely, and missing some of the top guys, looking up to that part also. That's big victories for us, looking out for the upcoming Worlds here in Minnesota.
For sure, and I mean, not super common to have a second-year captain. What's it like coming back again? Still being the leader of this team, but kind of having a second go at it.
Yeah, obviously it's a lot of memories from last year, and it's a huge honor and a privilege to be a captain of our home country. And I really appreciate the choice of the coaches and the other players that they made. And obviously, as I said, a lot of memories from last year and many experiences from these tournaments. So I hope I can bring the best part of my leadership for this team to make it succeed as well as it can.
Is it cool to be able to come out here and play in this World Juniors? Really thinking probably in front of a lot of the future Minnesota Wild fans.
Absolutely, this is a state of hockey, as they say. So as we can tell already here in the summer, the crowd was good and just loved to play here. This place is just awesome.
Is it weird? Because I know that for you guys, it's probably not as common to see university or college hockey stuff. Like, what do you think of just the facilities here?
This is insane. Just look like 10,000 people fitting to a junior hockey arena, and then I've seen the facilities last summer with Cal Dietz, so I know how the facilities work down there for the Minnesota U, but it's insane. Just look at this arena. It's insane how big this can be.
Now, when you're playing out here, there's a lot of fans that just being in Finland, there's fans that kind of just watch NHL and college hockey. What should they know about your game?
Well, I kind of always try to be a player that helps our team to win. That's my first job, and what that includes is just to try to be myself every shift on the ice, try to bring my strengths up in every shift, try to be good with the puck, smart positioning on the ice with and without the puck, and just make solid, good passes, and special teams are obviously my big strengths, both PP and PK, and then just hockey IQ is my biggest strength also, so just try to use these strengths in every shift and try to do everything that our team can win.
Now, been out here a couple of times now since being drafted. Any other prospects in the Wild pool that you've gotten to know better or guys that you're closer with at this point?
Well, like not too close. Obviously, know all of the prospects like Z. Bouillon and Ryder Ritchie's obviously here at the World Junior Summer Showcase as well. But I think all of the prospects they're great players and great guys, so it's easy to come along with all of the guys. But there's not specifically like anyone that I come along with or text very often. But
sure.
I've been in some of the contact with Z. Bouillon and Ryder Ritchie.
Awesome. And cool to have a fellow countryman playing on this squad with you here that's also a Wild prospect in Sebastian Swinney?
Yeah, absolutely. Sebastian Swinney, he's a great guy, and we're Finns, so we obviously text a lot, and then Rasmus Kumpulainen obviously has another Finn who's going to play for Iowa this year in the American League, so we obviously text a lot for each other not almost every day, but every week at least. So all of the, as I said, all of the Wild prospects they're great guys on and off the ice.
That's a cool dynamic for sure. Now let's talk NHL draft experience for you. I mean, obviously it came in with a lot of skill to tout, just unfortunate, having injuries, whatever. What was your expectation coming in? Did you have any idea where you might fall in the draft?
No, honestly, I thought somewhere maybe early second, early third, somewhere in between there, and I kind of like that's what all the teams said as well. But as I said, the number basically doesn't matter, and everything that matters is what's happening after the draft and who's working the hardest and who's taking the biggest steps after the draft. So that's the biggest thing that matters.
No, for sure. And if it makes you feel any better, we felt the exact same way. And we were ready to just start punching things if you weren't taken in the 4th round there. Now, I got to ask you because you had the quote of the draft. I'm sure you've been asked about this 1,000 times. I'm going to make it 1,001. But you go up to Billy Guerin, and I'm sorry, what was the exact quote?
Well, I don't remember the exact quote, but some steal of the draft or something. I think that was pretty much what I said to him.
Yeah, a little bit more colorful, but yeah, we'll go with that. And is that something that you were like sitting there and as soon as you were taken, you're like, oh, I can't wait to find Billy and say this? Or was that heat of the moment you came across him, you're like, you know what, I just got to tell you how I feel?
Well, I just wanted to like let him know kind of. It was, and I heard like some of the people said it's cocky or arrogant, but like that's not what I meant. I just wanted them to know that they get a good player on the 4th round as well, and just wanted to make a good first impression. There's a saying in Finnish that you can make your first impression only once, and just wanted to be honest how I felt.
And you made it. The fans that didn't know who you were immediately knew, and I'll tell you, they didn't think it was cocky. They loved it. And
good.
If there's anyone that loves it more than the fans and I did, it's Bill Guerin. So
absolutely.
I think you made your impression there for sure. You've been around Minnesota here for, again, about a week now, and you've been out here before, but are you getting to know the area any better? Like, is there anything that stands out as things you're excited about when you're out here eventually? And feel free, too, if you want to take jabs at the weird Minnesotans and some of the stuff we do that just doesn't make sense.
No, I love this place. It's pretty close to Finnish. The nature is pretty same as we got in Finland. Obviously, a little bit hotter here in the summers and a little bit colder in the winters. But otherwise, I feel this is a great place. Just love it. The downtowns are nice. The mall is great. A lot of good place to have dinner. JD Hoyt's a great steak place. Got to give a shout out for them. And then what was it called? Billy Sushi.
Billy Sushi, yes.
Yeah, got to give credit to those two shout outs. So yeah, but as I said, love this place. Like it's awesome and a great NHL city for sure.
Nice. And are you much of a golfer in the off season?
Well, I can say I've done some laps, but I really suck at it. So.
All right, that we're in the same camp, so that works.
Final question brought to you, as always, by our good friends at Waggle Golf. First, make sure you head over to getyourwaggleon.com, throw in promo code SP10 to take 10% off your entire order.
If you could pick 3 people, I don't care if it's a professional athlete, celebrity, dead or alive, it can be a made-up fictional character, who would you take out for your dream golf foursome, round of golf?
Wow. I probably got to go Adam Sandler. He's a great character. I just love him. He's a great guy. And
very topical. Did you watch Happy Gilmore too?
Oh yeah.
What do we think?
I think it was good. Not better than the first one, but
that's a tough bar to hit.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
So I'd say he'd be one, and I'd go Michael Jordan as a second one, and I don't know who the third one might be. There's a lot of great options to do.
There are. And you picked 2 really good ones there. So which one's going to be in your cart with you?
Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
I want to laugh. I got so bad jokes, but he has different.
Now, is he just Adam Sandler, or is he in character as Happy Gilmore?
Well, he can be anytime.
He can be whoever he wants.
Grown-ups guy or whoever. He's just awesome.
What's your favorite Adam Sandler movie?
Well, gotta go to Happy Gilmore for sure.
Okay.
But Grown-ups, that's it as well.
See, I love Happy Gilmore. I don't think it'll ever beat out Billy Madison for me, though.
Oh, you got.
It's got a special place in my heart.
Sure.
Special place
for sure. Yeah.
But no, very good stuff. Really appreciate the time here, Aron. Again, really excited to watch you coming up here, World Juniors, and just see you continue to develop coming in as a prospect. I imagine the next year or 2 here. Anything in particular this season that you're focusing on, keying in on to keep growing your game?
Well, I can just try to take the next step. I felt I had a good last season in the Liga with HIFK in Helsinki, but kind of now I just want to take a bigger step now and do the real breakthrough and be a top defenseman in the whole league. And I think we got a good chance to success also as a team. We got a great coach now, and then we got a great team, a lot of good players there, and the competition is hard. But I think everything will be good, and just try to stay healthy.
Love it. I appreciate the time, Aron.
Thank you.
That's a wrap on this episode. Again, anyone that hasn't already, make sure you go subscribe, check out all of the great content that Joe and Russo have been putting out over at The Athletic. Only more to come, and I mean, hopefully soon enough it's Kaprizov, Rossi, some kind of notable news. But also tune in next week. Episode will be featuring an interview we already banked with Devin Dubnyk. Guy's an absolute riot. You won't want to miss it. And please do keep tuning in and letting us know just what you'd like to see. Segments coming up. If there's certain topics that we need to tackle more or less. If you have specific interview requests, this can be players, this can be media, this can be front office. And as we've gotten here recently, actually earlier today, Isha and I sat down with a handful of Gopher hockey alums, banked some fun content with them. So across the board, just let us know what kind of stuff you guys are interested in. We'll do our best to deliver for you. But again, that's a wrap for this week. Appreciate you all for tuning in for yet another installment to Fellowship of the Rink. Give us the 5 stars, subscribe, follow, wherever you get your podcasts, and of course, the SOTA Pod YouTube channel. You stay classy, stay to hockey.